The lights of the Bellagio shimmered like a dream too good to be true, like the kind of dream that starts with champagne and ends with regret, or something far more dangerous. I didn't believe in fate, but I believed in impulse, and that night, everything about her felt like both. Her laugh, low and smoky. Her eyes, green like casino felt and twice as addictive. And the way she leaned in across the blackjack table, one elbow propped, one eyebrow cocked, like she already owned me. "One more hand," she said, voice silk-wrapped steel. "Double or nothing. If I win, I get a kiss." I should have said no. I had nothing left to bet but my dignity. But I nodded, because deep down I wanted her to win.
She did.
With a goddamn perfect 21. And when she reached for me across the table, fingers wrapping gently around my wrist, there was something in her touch that set off alarms in my spine, but I didn't pull away. I didn't even blink. Her lips met mine in the middle of the chaos, between the clinking of chips and the shouts of drunks, and everything else just dissolved. I kissed her back like I'd been waiting for her my whole life. Like I'd lost more than a bet. The kiss lasted 3 seconds. Maybe 4. But when she pulled back, her smile was smug, lethal, unforgettable. "Thanks for playing, Vegas girl," she whispered, disappearing into the crowd like a ghost made of fire. I didn't even know her name, but I knew I'd never stop thinking about her. 2 weeks later, back home in LA, I still hadn't. I was supposed to be rebuilding my freelance photography career after a 3-month slump. Instead, I was zooming in on blurry security footage of a casino lobby, trying to catch one more glimpse of that smirk. Pathetic. I knew it. I just didn't care. Then I got the email. Subject line: "You're the girl from the Bellagio, aren't you?" My heart thudded. The sender? Unknown. The body? Just a single line. "Nice kiss. Want to try double or nothing again?" My breath caught. I stared at the screen like it might answer all my questions. And then I wrote back. "Hey, if you're enjoying this story, go ahead and drop a like to help us grow even more. And let me know in the comments, on a scale from 0 to 10, what score would you give this story so far? Your feedback makes all the difference." Where and when? The reply came 10 minutes later. No name, no explanation. Just an address in Silver Lake. Saturday, 8 p.m. I didn't even hesitate. When Saturday came, I stood outside a house perched on the edge of a hill, clutching my phone like it might suddenly make me brave. The lights were on. Music drifted from the open windows. Fleetwood Mac, of course. Mysterious Lesbians and Fleetwood Mac, name a more iconic duo. I knocked. The door swung open. And there she was. She was barefoot, wearing a paint-stained tank top and ripped jeans, hair in a loose bun that made her cheekbones look sharper. Her eyes lit up the second she saw me. "Well, look who pays her debts," she said. "You still haven't told me your name," I replied. She grinned. "Ava." And just like that, I was done for. She led me inside like she'd done it 100 times, poured me a glass of wine without asking, and dropped onto the couch like she didn't have a care in the world. I stayed standing, trying not to let the tension show in my shoulders. "What is this?" I finally asked. She tilted her head. "A second chance to kiss me? Or walk away? Your call." "Why me?" I whispered. Ava's eyes softened. "Because when I kissed you in Vegas, it felt like everything else stopped. And I want to know if that was a fluke or a beginning." There was a long silence between us. I felt the pull of her, the gravity of something I couldn't name. And still, I hesitated. "I don't fall easily," I admitted. "Then don't fall," she murmured, reaching for my hand. "Jump." And this time I did. My lips found hers with less caution and more certainty, and when she pulled me onto her lap, I let it happen like it had been inevitable from the beginning. Her mouth was warmth and wildfire, tasting like red wine and danger, and I knew, deep in some place I didn't want to examine, that I wasn't walking away from this woman anytime soon. Not after Vegas. Not after this. But what I didn't know then was that Ava wasn't just some chaotic artist with a wicked smile and good instincts. She had secrets. Layers. A life more complicated than the kiss she'd used to reel me in. And, as I'd learned far too soon, winning me hadn't been a game.
It had been a move.
And I just played right into it. The next morning felt like the aftermath of a storm, quiet, tense, a little surreal. Ava had fallen asleep on the couch with her legs draped over mine, her head on my shoulder, like we'd done this a dozen times before. I hadn't slept. My thoughts had spun too fast, chasing the memory of her lips, the weight of her body pressed to mine, the whisper of her name echoing in my chest like a song I didn't know the words to but couldn't stop humming. I kept asking myself the same question. What the hell was I doing? And why did it already feel like too late to stop? When Ava stirred, her eyelashes fluttered once, then again, before she looked up at me with that same devil-may-care softness that made it impossible to think straight. You didn't run, she said, voice raspy with sleep. Should I have? I asked. Probably. She smiled like that was exactly what she wanted me to say. I kissed her forehead before I could overthink it. She let it happen like she'd been expecting it. Like she wanted more. I stayed another hour. We drank coffee in her messy kitchen while she painted strokes of deep violet across a half-finished canvas propped against the wall. I tried not to read too much into how at home I felt in a space that was nothing like mine. Ava, it turned out, was all chaos and contradiction, expensive wine and secondhand records, broken clocks and fresh orchids, walls lined with books she swore she hadn't read but kept just in case. She didn't ask me anything personal, and I didn't ask her either. It was like we both knew that breaking the spell would be as easy as trying to define it. When I finally left, she walked me to the door and kissed me again, slower this time, more deliberate, like she was planting something in me that would grow whether I wanted it to or not. Don't be a stranger, Vegas girl, she murmured. I wasn't sure if it was a request or a warning, but I smiled. You're hard to forget. That's the point, she said, closing the door before I could say anything else. Back at my apartment, everything felt too quiet, too sterile. I kept replaying moments of the night like they were movie stills, trying to find some clue, some crack in her mask, but all I could see was Ava's smirk, Ava's hands, Ava's eyes watching me like she already knew the ending and wasn't going to spoil it. I told myself I wouldn't reach out. I told myself I'd wait. But 3 days later, I caved. I sent a text. I owe you a rematch. Pick the game. Her reply came fast. Dinner. Tomorrow. I cook. Wear something that can handle tomato sauce. I stared at the message and felt a rush I couldn't name. Maybe anticipation. Maybe dread. I replied with a thumbs up and sat back on the couch, wondering when the hell she'd flipped the board and started moving all the pieces. The next night, I showed up at her door with a bottle of red and a flutter in my stomach I hadn't felt in years. She greeted me barefoot again, this time in black leggings and a loose gray t-shirt, her hair down and a bit wild, as if she'd been running fingers through it all day. The kitchen smelled like garlic and heat, and the table was set for two with mismatched plates and candles stuffed into wine bottles. She'd made pasta from scratch. Who the hell even did that anymore? Are you trying to seduce me? I asked, stepping into her warmth. She smirked. Too late for that question, don't you think? We ate, we drank, we danced a little in the kitchen to a vinyl of Nina Simone, and by the time I ended up straddling her on the worn leather armchair near the window, I didn't even try to stop myself. Her hands slid under my shirt like they belonged there, and when she pulled away to look at me, there was something in her gaze I couldn't name.
Tenderness, maybe.
Or warning. You're dangerous, I whispered. Only if you get too close, she replied. What if I already am? She didn't answer. She just kissed me again, and this time it wasn't soft, it was need. It was control. It was the kind of kiss that makes you forget what came before. But right in the middle of it, something strange happened. Her phone, resting on the table behind us, lit up. I wouldn't have noticed if not for the way her body stiffened beneath me. The name on the screen flashed for less than a second, but I saw it. Cassandra, do not answer. Ava didn't move. She didn't even flinch. But I felt the shift in her. Like something she'd been holding back had just slipped out from between her ribs. I pretended I hadn't seen. I kissed her harder.
And she let me.
But my mind had already taken a different road. Who was Cassandra? Why not answer? Why that name, in all caps, screaming from her screen like a secret too loud to hide? Later, after we'd tangled in her sheets and she'd fallen asleep with one hand on my hip, I stared at the ceiling and knew two things for certain. I was falling.
Fast.
And I wasn't the only one Ava had kissed like this. The question was, had she kissed someone else while kissing me? The morning after felt different. Heavier. Not because Ava held me any differently, or because the sun came in at a sharper angle, but because I couldn't get that name out of my head. Cassandra. It rang like a warning bell, like a thread I wasn't supposed to pull but couldn't stop tugging on. Ava made pancakes barefoot, humming something soft and off-key, wearing one of my t-shirts like she'd always had it. She moved like nothing was wrong. Like the night before hadn't cracked open something she wasn't ready for me to see. "You like blueberries?" she asked, holding up a handful with blue-stained fingers. "I do not like them," I said, half smiling, trying to keep my voice from revealing too much. That's the least committed answer I've ever heard. "I'm complicated." "So am I," she said, and it was the first time that morning her voice lost its casual shine. I watched her too closely after that, trying to decode her movements, her silences, the half-second pauses between her jokes.
I didn't ask about the name.
I wanted to, but I didn't.
Not yet.
When I left her place, she kissed me like nothing had changed. But everything had. I started noticing things. A missed call Ava ignored mid-conversation. A moment she went tense when I asked about her art career, and she said, "I used to be more in the scene." Used to. Like something had ended. Something big. And maybe messy. I began digging. Not out of suspicion, I told myself, but curiosity. I knew her last name now. Ava Loron. A quick Google search over coffee led me to a storm I hadn't expected. Articles. Photos. Mentions in art blogs from 2 years ago. Gallery openings. A few pieces auctioned for startling amounts. And then silence. A sudden stop. No exhibits after a certain date. No interviews. One headline caught my eye. Reclusive LA artist linked to public breakup with high-profile gallerist Cassandra Reed. My blood went cold. I clicked. There was a photo of Ava in a backless black dress, arm in arm with a stunning woman in red, both of them walking into a gallery opening like royalty. The article described a scandal, affairs, accusations, a shattered career, Ava disappearing from the scene, Cassandra's gallery thriving. My stomach twisted. I stared at the photo, at the way Ava was smiling, at the way Cassandra held her waist like possession and threat rolled into one. I hadn't imagined it. Cassandra was real.
And recent.
And messy as hell. I sat with it for an hour before texting Ava. "Want to get a drink tonight?" She replied almost instantly. "Always. Yours or mine?" "Yours. I'll bring the wine." That night, she opened the door wearing a fitted black tee and an expression I couldn't read. "Rough day?" she asked. "Weird day," I said, handing her the bottle. "Good weird or bad weird?" "TBD." She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. We sat on the floor with the wine and a record playing something slow and jazzy. I waited for the right moment, the right shift in mood. Then I said it. "I know about Cassandra." The name hit like a glass shattering. Ava went very still. Her fingers tightened around the stem of her glass. "What exactly do you know?" "That she was your ex. That it ended badly. That she's the reason you stopped showing your art." Ava laughed once, sharp and bitter. "Google is a bitch." "You don't have to tell me more," I offered, even though I desperately wanted her to. She sighed, setting the glass down carefully. "We were together for 2 years. I thought it was everything. Turned out it was control. She owned the gallery. She owned my shows. And eventually she tried to own me." "So you walked away?" "I burned it down," Ava said, eyes flickering. "Emotionally. Professionally.
Publicly."
She made sure I never got invited to another show again. "And now she's still calling you." Ava flinched. "You saw that, didn't you?" It was hard to miss. "She wants to talk." Pretend we can be civil. But I know better. I hesitated. And what do you want? Ava looked at me like she was weighing something heavy. I want something real. Something that isn't built on power plays and gallery walls, and who's holding the leash. And is that what this is? I asked. Whatever we're doing? She didn't answer right away, just leaned in and kissed me, slow and deep and desperate. I kissed her back, but part of me stayed distant, watching. Because I wanted to believe her. I wanted her more than I'd wanted anyone in years. But there was a crack in her somewhere, and I wasn't sure if I was the one crawling into it, or if she was still bleeding inside it. After I left her place that night, she sent a text. I'm not her, and I'm not going to hurt you. I stared at it for a long time before replying. Prove it. She didn't respond. Not that night. Not the next day either. And that silence felt more dangerous than Cassandra ever could. 2 days passed. 2 days of silence, of checking my phone like it might suddenly vibrate with her name, of replaying every moment of our last conversation to see what I'd missed. I'd handed her a challenge, prove it, and she'd vanished. I told myself she needed time, that maybe she was scared, but the truth clawed louder with each hour. I'd touched something too raw, something Ava hadn't decided whether to protect or destroy. On the 3rd day, I was photographing a bookshop downtown for a freelance gig when I saw her. Not Ava. Cassandra. Standing at the corner of the street, sunglasses on, red lipstick like blood on her mouth, hair pulled back in a sleek knot that made her look every inch the gallery queen. My heart stuttered. She was watching me. There was no doubt.
She didn't wave.
She didn't smile. She just stared, and then turned and walked away. I stood frozen in place, camera in my hands, brain buzzing. It could have been coincidence, but it didn't feel like one. Ava hadn't answered me in days, and now her ex was tracking me like a predator scenting weakness. That night, I drove to Ava's house without telling her. I sat in the car for 20 minutes before I found the nerve to knock. She didn't answer. Her porch light was on. Her car was in the driveway. I knocked again. Nothing. I texted her. I need to talk to you. Please. No response. I tried calling. Straight to voicemail. It was the first time since we'd met that she shut the door in my face, without even opening it.
I didn't sleep that night.
The next morning, I found her at the cafe on Sunset we'd gone to once before. She was sitting in the corner, sketchbook open, coffee half drunk, eyes red-rimmed like she hadn't slept either. I walked straight to her table. She looked up, and the second our eyes met, I knew something had shifted. Hi, I said softly. She swallowed. Hey. You didn't answer me. I know. Cassandra showed up. Ava froze. What? Yesterday. Downtown. She watched me, Ava. Just stood there. Fuck. She closed the sketchbook hard. I told her to back off. I told her. She's not backing off, I said, sitting across from her. She's circling. I didn't want you involved in this, Ava said, her voice low and pained. I thought if I pulled back, she'd lose interest. So ghosting me was to protect me? It was to protect you from me. That made me pause. She rubbed a hand over her face. You saw what she did to me, to my career, to everything I loved. I don't want her to find a way to do that to you. She's already trying. Exactly. She looked at me then, truly looked. I like you. That scares the hell out of me. I don't trust myself to keep you safe. I don't need you to protect me, Ava. I need you to trust me. You don't know what she's capable of. Then tell me. She's manipulative, vindictive. She can make a lie look like truth and ruin you while smiling in your face. Is she dangerous? Only if you try to leave her with your soul intact. That silence between us stretched long and sharp. Then I said it quiet but firm. You already left her. Ava nodded slowly, but she hasn't let go. We sat like that for a while, letting the truth settle between us. Finally, I reached across the table and took her hand. If you're scared, say it. But don't shut me out. Her fingers gripped mine tighter than I expected. You still want this? She asked. After everything? I never wanted something safe. I wanted something real. Ava exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. Come over tonight, she said. I'll make it right. I nodded. No running this time. No running, she promised. That night, I showed up to her house just after 8. The lights were low, music soft, candles flickering. Ava opened the door in a silk robe, her eyes wide and unguarded. She let me in without a word. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to. Her hands said everything, how sorry she was, how afraid, how much she needed this to be something she could hold on to. When she kissed me that night, it wasn't just lust or hunger. It was surrender. But around 2 in the morning, just as I was dozing off with her arm around my waist, I heard her phone vibrate. I glanced at the screen. My blood went cold. This time it wasn't Cassandra. It was worse. Unknown number. I know what you did to her. You don't get to hide. Ava didn't move. I wasn't sure if she was asleep or pretending to be. My heart hammered. I turned to her slowly. Ava, I whispered. There's something you need to see. Her eyes opened instantly. She saw the screen. Her face went pale. No, she murmured. Not again. What does it mean? I asked. But she didn't answer. She was already getting out of bed, throwing on clothes, hands shaking. Ava, what's happening? I thought it was over, she whispered. I thought she was done. This wasn't from Cassandra, I said. No, Ava said. It's from someone worse. Ava's fingers trembled as she slid her phone into her back pocket, eyes darting like she was suddenly back in a nightmare she'd spent years trying to forget. She didn't speak, didn't blink, just moved, restless, sharp, like an animal that senses the trap snapping shut. Who is it? I asked again, voice calm even though my chest felt like it was collapsing. If it's not Cassandra, then who? Ava ran a hand through her hair, pacing. It doesn't matter. The hell it doesn't. Someone knows something. Something you clearly haven't told me. She stopped, spun, her eyes full of a fire I hadn't seen since Vegas. You want the truth? Always. I didn't just leave Cassandra. I exposed her. I gave a journalist a series of emails and recordings. She'd been sleeping with artists she represented.
Manipulating them.
Offering shows in exchange for control. I sent everything anonymously. I thought I was protecting others. Jesus. After the story broke, she didn't lose everything. But she lost enough. And she knew it came from me. But you sent it anonymously. It didn't matter. She's smart. Vindictive. She started the Whisper campaign. The blacklists. She never confronted me directly. But suddenly my name stopped opening doors. And every door that shut, she made sure I heard it slam. I sat down trying to absorb it. So, who sent the text? Ava's mouth was a tight line. One of her disciples, probably. Someone who thinks I ruined her. There are people who still think Cassandra is a genius misunderstood. That I was just some ungrateful lover who turned on her. But you weren't. No, she said quietly now. I wasn't. I was just the only one who got out. I looked at her, really looked. For once, the armor was gone. She wasn't a seductive, chaotic artist who'd drawn me into a kiss in Vegas. She was just a woman who'd survived something and built walls so high she couldn't remember what it felt like to be seen. I stood, stepped close, reached for her hand. You don't have to keep surviving alone. She looked at our hands, like she couldn't believe they were real. I don't want you getting dragged into this. They'll come for you, too. Let them. I'm not scared of ghosts. She met my gaze. You should be. That night, she didn't ask me to leave. We slept in the same bed again, but this time it was different. Not rushed, not hungry, just quiet.
Steady.
Her breath evened out against my collarbone, but I couldn't sleep. Not when someone out there knew more than they should. Not when I could feel Cassandra's shadow stretching long and slow over everything we were building. The next morning, I woke up early and slipped out of bed without waking Ava. I couldn't sit still anymore. I had to do something. I started digging. Public records, old blog posts, art reviews, obscure forums. I followed usernames connected to gallery circles, old comments under Cassandra's articles, anything that mentioned Ava after the scandal. And then I found it, a thread buried deep in a forgotten forum. Anonymous posts. One of them read, "Ask Ava Loron what happened in Madrid." Another, "She's not just a victim. Look harder." My heart clenched. Madrid? Ava had never mentioned leaving the country. I clicked, followed the digital crumbs, and eventually found a small article from a Spanish publication dated 18 months ago.
It wasn't about Ava.
It was about a young female artist named Lucia Morales, who'd been dropped suddenly by her gallery after a personal entanglement with a visiting American artist. Rumors swirled. The article never mentioned Ava's name, but the dates lined up. The gallery was known to host guest residencies. The last photo on their Instagram from that time showed a blurry image of a woman who looked hauntingly familiar, standing in the background with a cigarette and a sketchbook. My mouth went dry. I shut the laptop, heart pounding. Was this what the message meant? "I know what you did to her." Was Lucia the her? That night, I went back to Ava's. She was painting again, brush flying and messy, angry strokes across the canvas. She didn't turn when I entered. "You went digging," she said flatly. I froze. "You knew." "I knew you would. And I knew you'd find Madrid." "Then tell me, what happened there?" She dropped the brush. It clattered to the floor, streaked with red and black. It was nothing. It wasn't nothing. Someone thinks it was everything. Ava turned. Her face was pale, tired, honest in a way that almost hurt. I met her in the residency. Lucia. She was brilliant and fragile. And I was still bleeding from Cassandra. I shouldn't have touched her, but I did. Did you hurt her? Not intentionally.
But yes. How?
She fell for me.
Hard.
And I thought I could handle it. That I could give her something without losing myself again. But when I left, she spiraled. She accused me of leading her on, of stealing her ideas. None of it was true, but the damage was done. And now someone wants revenge. Ava nodded. I never lied to Lucia. But I didn't protect her either. I ran. And now it's following you. No, she said, voice cracking. Now it's following us. I stepped forward. My voice was steady even though my legs weren't. Then stop running. We face it. Together. Ava looked at me like I was a light she'd never let herself want. You'd stay? Even now. Especially now. And in that moment, something broke open in her. Not in a violent way. In a soft, necessary one. She pulled me into her arms like she finally believed I was real, and this time, when we kissed, it wasn't escape. It was choice. It was defiance. But outside, in the dark, someone was watching. And they weren't ready to let go of the past either. It started again with silence, the dangerous kind. The kind that coils around your spine and whispers run even when your feet are nailed to the ground. After our confrontation about Madrid, Ava and I didn't speak much. Not out of anger. Out of something worse. Caution. It felt like walking barefoot through glass, knowing one wrong word would make everything bleed. She stayed close, almost too close, as if proximity could keep the ghosts away. But I knew better now. Ghosts didn't fear closeness. They lived in it. A week passed. We kept things simple. Movies on our couch. Walks in the hills. Long silences filled with everything we couldn't say. We didn't talk about Lucia. Or Cassandra. Or the fact that someone somewhere was still watching. Until the letter came. No return address. No stamp. Just slipped under Ava's door while we were out getting groceries. The envelope was thick, off-white, expensive. Her name written in a careful, looping script. Ava Loron. Inside, a single photograph. Black and white. Grainy. A woman on a rooftop, barefoot, screaming into the sky. Her hands were covered in paint. And Ava was standing behind her. Watching. Detached. The back of the photo was stamped. Madrid, 2023.
Ava stared at it for a long time.
Longer than she should have. That's Lucia, I whispered. Yes. Who took it? I don't know, but it wasn't supposed to exist. What do you mean? She sat down slowly. That day, she had a breakdown. I tried to help, but she wouldn't let me. She blamed me for everything. Her art, her failures, her heartbreak. I walked away. I never told anyone, not even the program director. And someone was watching? Apparently. And now they want you to feel it. She nodded once. Guilt. Or fear. We sat in silence, the photo between us like a loaded gun neither of us wanted to touch. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Lucia. About Ava. About the kind of power artists hold over each other when lines blur between muse and lover, inspiration and obsession. The next morning, I went to the cafe where Ava and I had first met again after Vegas. I needed space. I needed perspective. I pulled out my laptop and searched everything I could about Lucia Morales.
But there was almost nothing.
No new work. No interviews. It was like she'd disappeared. Until I found an anonymous Instagram account at Hireth Ghost. Only drawings. All in charcoal and red ink. All women. All faceless. One post stood out. It was recent. A sketch of two women kissing under a neon sign that said, "What happens in Vegas?" My heart stopped. The caption read, "But it never stays there, does it?"
I zoomed in.
The signature was just a single red T. Ava had once told me Lucia never signed her work. She thinks names give people power, she'd said. I took a screenshot. Sent it to Ava, with no message. Her reply came fast. It's her. She's in LA? She never left. That night, Ava didn't want to talk. She drank too much wine, too fast. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She's not going to stop, she murmured, curled on the couch, eyes red. She wants me to suffer. To confess. I don't know. Burn. You didn't destroy her.
No, she said.
But I didn't save her either. I sat next to her, quiet. I didn't have the right words. Just the weight of truth pressing against both of us. You can't fix the past, I whispered. But you can face it. Ava looked at me then, raw and exhausted. I think she wants me to admit I used her. That I took her heart and turned it into art and then left her with nothing. Did you? I don't know, she said. But it haunts me. The next morning, we woke up to another letter. Same envelope. Same handwriting. Inside this time, a flash drive. No note. Ava hesitated before plugging it into her laptop. I stood behind her as the video opened. It was grainy, shaky, recorded from a distance. A rooftop.
Madrid.
Lucia pacing, crying, painting a canvas in manic strokes. Then Ava stepped into frame. They argued. No sound. Just their bodies moving like shadows. At one point, Lucia dropped to her knees. Ava didn't touch her.
Didn't speak.
Just turned and walked away. The camera lingered on Lucia as she screamed at the sky, alone. Then the screen went black. Ava closed the laptop. Her voice cracked. She's showing me what I didn't want to see. She wants you to feel it. Ava looked up at me. She wants me to break. Then don't. It's not that easy. Then let me hold the pieces with you. That night, we didn't talk. We held each other like we were bracing for impact. And in the shadows outside Ava's house, headlights flashed once, then twice, and disappeared into the dark. I stopped sleeping at my place. Not because Ava asked, not even because I felt safer at hers. It was because every time I left her alone, I felt like I was leaving someone standing on the edge of a ledge, one gust away from falling. And maybe I was. The second flash drive arrived 2 days later. No envelope this time. Just the drive, left on the windshield of my car while it was parked outside Ava's house. A violation so subtle and precise it chilled me more than any threat could have. I showed it to Ava, without a word. Her face drained of color as she plugged it in. The video was silent again. More rooftop footage. Lucia and Ava talking. Then Lucia lunging, grabbing Ava's shirt. The two of them tangled in a moment that could have been violent or passionate. It was impossible to tell. Then Ava pulled away, walked to the edge of the rooftop, and screamed into the sky. The clip ended there. Ava shut the laptop slowly, her hands shaking. She wants to rewrite it, she said. She wants me to believe I hurt her more than I did. Or she wants you to admit you did, I said carefully. Even if you didn't mean to. Does intention even matter anymore? To her? Maybe not.
To you?
It has to. Ava stood up, pacing again. Always pacing. Like staying still made the past catch up faster. What do you want to do? I asked. I want her to stop. I want her to say what she needs to say to my face instead of hiding behind USBs and photos and silence. Then maybe it's time you found her first. Ava turned, startled. You think I should confront her? I think you need to stop running. Even if she's the one chasing you now. That night, Ava reached out to someone from her past, a former gallery assistant who'd once worked under Cassandra, then quietly left the scene after the fallout. Her name was Riley. She met us at a bar in Koreatown, hair buzzed short, tattoos up her neck, the kind of woman who'd seen too much and decided she wasn't scared of anything anymore. I figured you'd resurface eventually, Riley said, sipping her whiskey like it was water. So, what's the story? Lucia's still writing poems about your betrayal. Ava flinched. I stayed quiet. She's been stalking her, I said. Photos. Videos. Letters. Classic Lucia, Riley muttered.
What?
I leaned forward. You think this is normal? For her? Yes. Look, Ava's not the first woman she's tangled up. She's magnetic.
Sad. Talented.
Dangerous. She sucks people into her chaos and then blames them when they crawl out of it bleeding. You knew her? Ava asked. Not well. But I saw enough. She loved to be the victim. Especially in public. Especially when the truth was messier than her version. Why didn't you ever say anything? Because people believe pain, Riley said bluntly. They don't believe women who walk away from it. We left the bar with more questions than answers. Back at Ava's, I couldn't stop thinking about that sentence. People believe pain. And Lucia, whether innocent or not, was using her pain as a weapon now. Later that night, Ava crawled into bed behind me and whispered, If I go see her, I need you there. Always, I said. But you have to be ready. This isn't just about her forgiving you. It's about you forgiving yourself. Ava didn't reply, just kissed my shoulder and buried her face in my neck like she could hide from everything inside me. The next day, Ava texted a number she hadn't used in over a year. It was still saved under a fake name, LM. She wrote one line. Let's talk. One time. Just us. No more games. The reply came 4 hours later.
Fine.
Tomorrow. Griffith Park. The old observatory steps. Noon. When the day came, I drove us there. Ava was silent the whole ride. She wore all black. No makeup. Her hair tied back like armor. When we parked, she turned to me and said, If I start to lose control, pull me out. You won't, I said. But I will. We waited on the steps for 10 minutes. Then she arrived. Lucia Morales. In person, she was smaller than I expected. Slender, pale, with dark curls and enormous eyes that made her look like she lived in some tragic poem. She wore a deep red coat and walked like someone who wanted to be watched. When she saw Ava, she smiled. You came. Ava stood. You summoned. Lucia looked at me. She always needs a witness, doesn't she? She needs support, I said evenly. Something you never gave her. Lucia arched an eyebrow. I gave her everything. You gave her projection, Ava said quietly. And now you're giving her fear. No, Lucia said. You did that to yourself. The conversation was slow, measured, like they were walking through a minefield. Words layered with old wounds and silent accusations. I stayed back. I let them spiral. Until Lucia said, You used me. I loved you, Ava said. In my way. But it was never healthy. Not for you. Not for me. You left me. You needed me to. That was when Lucia broke. Not with tears. With fury. Her voice rose. Her body shook. She pulled a small envelope from her coat and threw it at Ava's feet. "That's my last word," she spat. "Use it for your next masterpiece." Then she turned and walked away.
Fast.
No goodbye. No glance back. Ava bent down and picked up the envelope. Inside was a single drawing.
Charcoal. Raw.
Violent. A woman kneeling in a field, eyes covered by red hands. It was Ava, and it was heartbreakingly beautiful. She stared at it for a long time. Then she folded it carefully and put it in her jacket. "It's over," she said. "For her. And for you?" Ava looked at me. "That's what I'm still figuring out." But for the first time since Vegas, her voice didn't tremble. It should have felt like an ending. Ava confronting Lucia, the drawing, the silence that followed. It should have wrapped the story in a ribbon and let us move on. But grief isn't clean, and guilt doesn't vanish when the ghost finally speaks. For the next few days, Ava was quiet, not withdrawn exactly, but slower, more deliberate. She painted for hours, sketching with a desperation that looked almost feverish. She barely slept, barely ate. When I asked her what she was working on, she just said, "The truth." I didn't push. I stayed. I made coffee. I rubbed her back while she showered with her forehead pressed against the tile. She didn't cry, but she broke in small, sharp ways, unfinished sentences, trembling hands, long silences where her eyes stared past me into something only she could see. On the fifth night, I found her curled on the couch at 3 a.m., barefoot, her sketchbook open on her lap. She looked up when I entered, eyes wide and raw. "I thought it would feel like freedom," she whispered. "It doesn't. It feels like I just amputated something. And I'm still bleeding." I sat beside her, pulled the sketchbook gently from her lap. Inside were page after page of Lucia, each drawing more brutal than the last. One where Ava was drawn without eyes. Another where Lucia stood above her, wings on her back and Ava on her knees. One showed the rooftop, but this time Ava was the one screaming. "This isn't healing," I said softly. "This is self-flagellation." "It's both," she whispered. "I need to remember. All of it. So I never do it again." "You won't. How do you know?" "Because this time you're not running." She looked at me then, truly looked, and something behind her eyes cracked open. "You're the only thing that feels real right now." "I am real. Promise me," she said, her voice shaking, "that you won't leave if I unravel." I took her face in my hands.
Ava.
"I already watched you fall apart. I'm still here." The kiss that followed was nothing like Vegas. It wasn't heat or hunger or defiance. It was need. It was gratitude. It was two people clinging to the idea that maybe, just maybe, they were enough. We made love slowly, silently, like it meant more than just comfort, like it was a vow. And afterward, in the soft hum of pre-dawn, she whispered something I hadn't expected. "I want to show again." I blinked. "You mean your work?" She nodded. "Publicly. I want people to see me. The truth. No galleries. No filters. Just me." "Do you know what that means?" "That I'm ready to be hated. Or forgiven. Or both." I kissed her shoulder. "Then let's make it happen." We spent the next few days planning. She decided on a pop-up exhibit, one night only, in an abandoned warehouse space Riley helped us find. No sponsors. No gallery owners. Just her work and anyone willing to show up. She called it Reckoning. I helped her hang canvases that bled pain and honesty. Huge pieces. Intimate sketches. Sculptures of fractured hands, eyes half closed in shame. She didn't censor anything. Not even the ones of Lucia. Not even the one of me. Naked in shadow, hand outstretched, holding a heart that wasn't mine. I stared at that one for a long time. "Is that how you see me?" I asked. "That's how you saved me," she said. The night of the exhibit, people came. Dozens. Some old friends. Some strangers. A few whispered when they saw Ava. Ghosts from the art world who hadn't spoken her name aloud in years. But no one left. They walked through her grief, her confession, her healing. And they stayed. By the end of the night, Ava stood at the center of the space, shaking, radiant, alive. She didn't give a speech.
She didn't need to.
Her work screamed louder than words ever could. I watched her from the back, heart hammering. She looked over at me, smiled, crossed the room slowly, deliberately, like she'd waited her whole life for this moment. "You were right," she whispered, sliding her arms around me. "What about? That truth doesn't destroy you. It saves you." I kissed her in front of everyone, not because I wanted to make a statement, but because I could not. She tasted like freedom. But just as the crowd began to thin, just as the night began to feel safe and holy, I saw her. Cassandra, standing in the doorway, wine glass in hand, black dress like armor. Watching.
Smiling.
Like she'd never left. Ava froze in my arms. "You have to be kidding me," she whispered. "She's not here to support you," I said quietly. "She's here to reclaim you. Not this time." Ava let go of me and walked straight to her. Every pair of eyes in the room shifted. Cassandra didn't flinch. "What a lovely exhibit," she said, voice smooth and cold. "So vulnerable. Why are you here?" Ava asked. Curiosity.
Pride.
Nostalgia. Pick your poison. "You don't get to stand in the shadows of my healing and pretend you weren't the fire." "Oh, sweetheart," Cassandra said with a smile. "You're still flammable." "Not anymore." Ava turned, walked away, and Cassandra didn't follow. That night, back in bed, Ava curled into me and whispered, "She doesn't scare me anymore." "Good," I murmured, "because she never deserved your fear." "But you," she whispered, kissing my chest, "you scare me." I smiled in the dark. "Why?" "Because I think I love you, and I don't want to break again." I pulled her closer. "Then don't let go." The days after the exhibit felt like stepping out of a storm and realizing the sun still existed. Not bright, not warm, but possible. Ava slept for almost 12 hours straight after that night, her body giving out the second her mind stopped running. I lay beside her, watching her chest rise and fall, wondering how someone so complex could look so peaceful when unconscious. I wanted to believe this was our turning point, that Cassandra had taken her last step into our lives, that Lucia had closed her chapter, and that now it was just us. But peace, I was learning, didn't come with a clean slate. It came in the form of tests, and we were about to face one neither of us expected. The first test came in the form of an invitation. A small, pristine envelope slipped into the mailbox at Ava's house. Handwritten. Elegant. No name on the front. Inside, a thick ivory card embossed with silver. "The Cassandra Reed Gallery invites you to a private viewing. Refractions, the art of truth and perception." And beneath it, in flawless cursive, featuring works from Lucia Morales and other emerging visionaries. Ava stared at the invitation for a full minute before saying a word. "She's baiting me," she muttered. "It's not just a show. It's a move. She's trying to prove she still controls the narrative," I said. "She wants me to show up, to react. So don't." "She's showing Lucia." Ava's voice dropped. "You think that's a coincidence?"
No.
"It's a message. She's telling me Lucia chose her.
That she owns her now.
That she can rewrite the past however she wants, because she has the platform." Ava tossed the invitation on the table like it was burning her. I reached for her hand. "You don't have to go." "But what if I need to?" "To prove what?" Ava's jaw tightened. "That I'm not afraid anymore." I didn't answer right away. The part of me that wanted to protect her was screaming no. But the part that knew her, the artist, the fighter, the survivor, understood that sometimes standing in the room where the pain lives is the only way to make it powerless. So we went. The gallery was sleek and cold, all glass and steel and curated shadows. Cassandra's signature was everywhere, on the lighting, the wine, the sharp smiles of her assistants. Ava walked in beside me like armor sharpened into a woman. She wore black, again, but with her hair down and her shoulders back, like she refused to be small tonight. People stared. Whispers followed us like perfume. but no one dared say her name aloud. Then we saw it. Lucia's piece. It was a mixed media installation, canvas, mirrors, and sound. On the main panel was a faceless woman tied in red threads, surrounded by fragmented reflections of herself. The audio whispered looped lines. She said she loved me. She said it wasn't real. I gave her everything. She gave me silence. Ava stared at it motionless. I reached for her hand, but she didn't move. Not even when Cassandra appeared behind us. Stunning, isn't it? Her voice slithered like silk.
Raw.
Honest. Ava turned slowly. She's still bleeding. And you're putting her on display. Artists need space to purge, Cassandra said, smiling. You taught me that. She needed healing, not a spotlight. And yet here she is. Thriving. Finally telling her truth. This isn't truth, Ava said, her voice sharp but steady. It's curation. It's trauma packaged in lighting and wine. Cassandra raised an eyebrow. You think you're the only one who gets to hurt out loud? No, Ava said. But I didn't build a gallery on someone else's scars. That hit. I saw it. A flicker. A crack. Cassandra's smile faltered for just a second. Still so dramatic, she murmured. But maybe that's why I always loved watching you unravel. I stepped forward then, blocking her. You're done here. She laughed. And who are you? The person who stayed when she shattered. The one who held her pieces together while you threw stones and called it inspiration. Cassandra stepped back like the words cut deeper than expected. Interesting, she said, turning. Let's see how long you last. And just like that, she disappeared into the crowd. We left not long after. Ava was silent in the car, eyes locked on the city lights passing like ghosts. I didn't push her to talk. I just drove. When we got home, she didn't say anything. She walked to the studio, turned on the light, and stared at a blank canvas. I leaned on the doorframe. Are you okay? No, she said. But I will be. She picked up a brush and dipped it in black paint. She doesn't get the last word. And with a single stroke, she began something new. That night, we didn't sleep. Not in the way normal people do. We collapsed into each other, feverish, lost, desperate to feel something that couldn't be manipulated or curated. Her hands gripped my hips like she was afraid I'd vanish. Her mouth claimed mine like a promise. And when we finally came down from it, tangled in sweat and breath and silence, she whispered something against my neck. She doesn't haunt me anymore. I wrapped my arms tighter around her. Good, because I'm not going anywhere. And for the first time since Vegas, I believed it. We weren't just surviving anymore. We were beginning. We thought it was over. We thought Cassandra had made her last move, that Lucia's name would finally settle into the silence Ava had fought so hard to earn. The exhibition at Cassandra's gallery was supposed to be the final confrontation. But ghosts, Ava once told me, don't knock before they come back. They slip under doors, live in glances, hide in the seams of things you thought were healed. And Ava had a way of attracting ghosts who still wanted answers. 2 weeks passed. Ava painted almost every day, relentless and focused. There was a new clarity in her brushstrokes, like each line was an exhale, each canvas a confession she no longer had to explain. I photographed her once, in a beam of morning light, barefoot and spattered in black paint, and saved the image in a folder titled Proof of Survival. She didn't ask to see it. She didn't need to. But then the email came. It was a press release, forwarded anonymously from a burner address. The subject line, LA Times feature, The Forgotten Truth Behind Ava Lawrence Reckoning. Ava opened it with a quiet breath, sitting beside me on the couch. The article was slick, vicious in its subtlety. It praised the rawness of her exhibit but questioned her motives, hinted that her return was opportunistic, and, worst of all, quoted an unnamed former partner who claimed Ava had manipulated her way into the spotlight again by exploiting the pain of others. Ava didn't speak. She didn't blink. But I watched the tremor start in her jaw, travel down her neck, and into her clenched fists. She planted this, she whispered. Cassandra? I asked, though I already knew the answer. It's her voice. I can hear it even in the parts she didn't say out loud. We don't have to respond. You don't owe anyone a rebuttal. But if I don't, the silence becomes an answer. Then let's answer in a way she can't twist. Ava turned her head, eyes on fire, but her voice was quiet. I want to tell my story. All of it. No galleries. No edits. No Cassandra.
How?
A show. One last one. But not in a gallery. Somewhere raw. Somewhere real. We made the call to Riley, who knew an old warehouse space that had been converted into a multi-level installation venue downtown. Ava wanted it all: light, sound, projection, sculpture, film. A complete immersion. She called the exhibit Ashes. As in, what's left after everything burns. The next 3 weeks became a kind of fever dream. I watched Ava build the show like a woman possessed. She poured everything into it. All the versions of herself she'd hidden, all the wounds, all the rage. It was terrifying and beautiful. And when she broke down on the floor one night, curled around a half-finished piece, sobbing without sound, I held her. She didn't apologize. And I didn't ask her to explain. The opening night was invitation only. No press. No gallery insiders. Just people Ava trusted. And people who needed to see the truth unfiltered. The space buzzed with energy. The crowd walked through installations where whispers played on loops, where lights flickered to the rhythm of a heartbeat, where paintings glowed under UV like buried memories coming to life. And then, at the very end, a short film played on a loop. Ava sat alone in a chair on screen, looking directly into the camera.
She spoke her story.
No cuts. No edits. She named names, described the rise, the collapse, the silence, the guilt. She spoke of Cassandra without venom, of Lucia with sorrow, and of herself with honesty so raw it made people stop breathing. When the film ended, the room didn't clap. It just breathed.
Slowly.
As if no one wanted to break the spell. Ava stood in the back, holding my hand. She didn't speak to anyone right away. Just watched.
Absorbed.
Felt. I kissed her knuckles. You did it, I whispered. You told the truth. I finally said it out loud, she said, eyes glistening. And it didn't kill me. We left late, after most had gone. But one woman waited near the door. I recognized her before Ava did. She had shorter hair now, a scar across one cheek. Lucia.
I saw the film, she said.
Thank you for not turning me into the villain. You were never the villain, Ava said softly. We were just broken people colliding. Lucia smiled, small and sad. I'm still learning how to be okay. Me too. They didn't hug. They didn't need to. It was a quiet closure. A wound that would always leave a mark but no longer demanded to be reopened. That night, Ava and I lay in bed with the windows open, LA buzzing around us. Her head rested on my chest. Her fingers traced slow lines over my ribs. I keep thinking about Vegas, she said suddenly. I know, I murmured. That kiss changed everything. It wasn't just the kiss, she said. It was the look in your eyes. Like you already knew I was a disaster and still wanted to try. I didn't know, I whispered.
But I do now.
And I still want to try. Even now. Especially now. She kissed me then, slow and full and real. And when we fell asleep, I dreamed of ash turning to gold. We thought peace would be loud. That after everything, after the fire and the ghosts and the grief turned into art, there would be fireworks. Some kind of crescendo. But instead, it arrived quietly. In the way Ava would reach for my hand, without thinking. In the way I'd catch her watching the sunrise with paint still on her cheeks. In the way the world, for the first time in what felt like forever, stopped shaking under our feet. She didn't want to leave the house much after Ashes. She said she'd already said everything she needed to. That she was done performing her pain. We started waking up later.
Drinking coffee in bed.
Spending entire afternoons in silence. Reading, listening to vinyl. Learning each other not through chaos, but through stillness. And that, more than anything, terrified her. "What if I only know how to survive?" she said once, her head on my chest, breath warm against my skin. "What if I don't know what to do with something good?" "Then we learn together," I whispered. "One slow morning at a time." But healing, I was learning, isn't a straight road. It curves. Loops makes you question whether you're actually moving forward or just wandering in prettier circles. We had our first real fight 2 weeks later. It started with something stupid, me suggesting we go to a mutual friend's gallery opening, her saying no, me pushing. "You can't hide forever," I said.
"I'm not hiding," she snapped.
"I'm choosing peace. There's a difference between peace and isolation. And you think you know the difference better than I do?" Her voice was sharp, defensive. I stood there, arms crossed, the distance between us suddenly feeling like an ocean. "I just think you're afraid of being seen outside your own terms." "Of course I am," she said. "Because the last time I was seen, it almost destroyed me. I'm not Cassandra." "No," she said, softer now. "But I'm still scared of losing you." "Then stop pushing me away when things get good." Silence. She looked at the floor, at her hands, at the crack in the floorboards near the corner she always painted in. "You're the first good thing I've wanted to keep," she whispered. "And that terrifies me more than any article, any gallery, any ghost." I crossed the room slowly, took her face in my hands. "Then let it terrify you. Just don't let it stop you." We made love like we were apologizing with every breath. She cried after, not because she was sad, but because she was soft. And softness, for her, was still new. The next morning she painted me, not from memory, not in shadows, but in light. The first portrait she'd done in months that didn't come from pain. It hung in her studio like a secret only we shared. A week later, something strange happened. My name appeared in a magazine. Not as a photographer, not even as a footnote, but as the partner of controversial artist Ava Laurent. It wasn't cruel, just cold, implying I was riding her storm, that I'd benefited from her chaos. Ava saw it first, tore the page out, didn't even show me until hours later. "This is what they do," she said, placing it on the kitchen counter. "They can't attack me directly anymore, so they find the cracks around me." I shrugged. "Let them. They don't know us. But they want to. And I want to protect you from it." "I don't need protecting," I said. "I need you to stop thinking you're something that has to be managed. You're not a wildfire anymore, Ava. You're the damn sun." That made her laugh. Truly laugh. Like it surprised her. She grabbed my face and kissed me so hard I tasted relief on her tongue. "You're dangerous," she whispered. "Because I believe you when you say things like that." "Good," I said. "Because I mean it." The next day, I got a call from a friend in publishing. She'd seen Ashes. She wanted to talk. A book. A full photo and painting collaboration between me and Ava. She said the world needed art that didn't just bleed, but healed. When I told Ava, she stared at me like I'd just offered her a map to a place she'd never let herself imagine. "You want to do it?" she asked, unsure. "Only if you do. It's not just your name that'll be in print." "It never was," I said. "We've been telling this story together since Vegas." She looked at me then, like the first time, like that table in the Bellagio when she leaned in and bet everything on a kiss. And when she smiled, it was real. "Then let's make something beautiful out of all this." That night, we started planning. Sketches, layouts, concepts. It felt like building a cathedral out of ruins. And for the first time, we weren't afraid of who might try to tear it down. We were just two women, creating, loving, living beyond the narrative. But I had no idea that someone was still waiting in the wings, watching. Not Cassandra, not Lucia, but someone we never saw coming. And they were about to remind us that even when you think the past is done echoing, some ghosts find new voices. We didn't notice it at first. That's how the worst things always arrive, quietly, like smoke before fire. The offer for the book had lit something in us. Ava was alive in a way I hadn't seen since that first kiss in Vegas. She was softer, steadier, like someone who finally believed the ground wouldn't crumble beneath her feet. And I was all in. Every moment we worked side by side, her painting, me shooting, felt like building a life out of pieces we'd once been afraid to pick up. But peace is loud in a world built on watching women fall. And someone somewhere had been watching more closely than we thought. It started with a package. Unmarked, hand-delivered. Left at the door of Ava's studio while we were inside, too caught up in choosing between matte or gloss prints to notice. Inside the box, a collection of printed screenshots. Forum posts. Private messages. Anonymous threads. All picking apart Ava's comeback. Speculating about her relationship with me. Questioning the timing of her healing. Some of them were worse. Comments written with knives. Accusations about Lucia. Veiled threats. But what made Ava freeze wasn't the content. It was the user behind most of the posts. VegasGirl21. I stared at the name, blood draining from my face. That's my handle, I whispered. Ava looked up, eyes unreadable. Have you posted anything? Never. I haven't used that name in years. I only made it for a travel blog I abandoned after one trip. Then someone stole it. Or copied it. Why would they? I stopped. A chill ran down my spine. They're trying to make it look like I'm behind it. Ava didn't say anything at first. She just picked up one of the papers and read a post aloud. She plays the perfect girlfriend, but everyone has a limit. She'll cash out before Ava sees it coming. Her voice broke. I stepped toward her. I didn't write that. I swear to you. I know, she said quickly, almost too quickly. I believe you. But something in her had already shifted. That night, we barely spoke. She stayed in the studio long after I went to bed, and when I woke up at 4 a.m., she still hadn't come in. I found her sitting on the floor, staring at the box. They're trying to turn me against you, she said without looking up. They're trying to make me paranoid. And the worst part is, it's working. Who would do this? I asked. Who hates us enough to want to break this? It's not Cassandra. This is Messier. She likes control. This is chaos. Lucia? Ava shook her head. She wouldn't go this far. She's done. I stared at the papers again, feeling a slow burn in my gut. Then someone else. Someone we missed. The next clue came in the form of a podcast. Indie. Obscure. An episode titled, The Myth of the Tragic Muse. Inside Ava Loron. It had been uploaded the night before. The host was anonymous, using a voice modulator. But the content was razor-sharp. Deep details about Ava's life, her time with Cassandra, even her time in Madrid. The final 10 minutes focused entirely on me. My past relationships. My work. My lack of gallery success. Ava's new girlfriend, the voice sneered, is a storybook opportunist. She met Ava during a vulnerable spiral and slid into the perfect role. Savior, muse, manager. She isn't in love. She's invested. And investments always demand return. Ava shut the laptop with a snap. This is coordinated. It's personal, I said. And whoever's behind it knows both of us. We made a list. People we'd hurt. People we'd forgotten. People who'd faded into the background while we burned. But none of it led anywhere. And then one afternoon I got a message. Not to my public email. Not to my socials. But to my private photography inbox. No name. No greeting. Just a line. You think she's telling you everything. Ask her about Elodie. I read it 3 times. Elodie. The name meant nothing to me. I showed it to Ava. Her face changed. Just for a second. But enough. Who is that? I asked. No one, she said too fast. Don't do that, I said, voice sharper than I meant. Not now. Not after everything. She was a model. In Paris. A long time ago. Before Cassandra. Before everything. And nothing. It was brief. Messy. We weren't even really together. Then why is someone using her name to rattle you? Ava didn't answer. That night, I didn't sleep. Neither did she. We laid there in the dark, not touching, not speaking, both waiting for something to crack. In the morning, the crack came. Ava was gone. Her phone left on the counter. Her keys, too. Just a note scribbled on the back of one of my photo proofs. I need to make sure this ghost is mine before I bring it into us. Don't follow me. I love you. My hands shook. My mind raced. I didn't even know where to start. Until I remembered what she'd said. Paris. A long time ago. I opened her old portfolio archive. Dug through travel folders she hadn't touched in years. And there she was. Elodie. Dark-haired. Pale-skinned. Green eyes. One photo showed her smiling in a crowded street. Another, alone, naked, curled on a chair, her body painted in red lines that looked like Ava's signature. And in the bottom corner of the file, a tag. Elodie@gmail.fr. Mail to Elodie@gmail.fr. My heart hammered. Someone had been watching us. But maybe Ava wasn't the only one with ghosts. And maybe not all of them wanted to stay buried. The studio felt too quiet without her. The air thick with unfinished words and the scent of turpentine. I sat on the floor surrounded by open folders and images of a woman I'd never met but already resented. Elodie. She stared back at me from every photograph. Cool, composed, captivating in that effortless, dangerous way. It wasn't jealousy. Not exactly. It was the gnawing certainty that Ava had buried something deep, something volatile, and now it was crawling back out just when we thought we were safe. She hadn't taken her phone, but she'd left behind every digital trace of that chapter in Paris. Emails, drafts of unsent letters, sketches, even one journal entry, titled The Girl with the Knife Smile. I opened it, and read. She never asked for love. She asked for obsession. Elodie didn't want to be held. She wanted to be consumed. I should have known. But I was young, hungry, too wrapped in my own wounds to see hers clearly. We created something monstrous together. And when I left, I thought I was saving both of us. But maybe monsters don't forgive silence. My chest tightened. I tried Elodie's email address, just once. I sent a message. I think we both know Ava doesn't run unless the fire's real. Where is she? An hour passed. Then 2. Nothing. I went through every contact Ava had stored under pseudonyms. Eventually, I found one tagged only with the letter E with a French country code. I didn't think. I just called. The line rang 6 times before someone answered. Allo. A woman's voice. Smooth. Effortless. Dangerous. Elodie? I asked. Silence. Then, you must be the American. Where is she? Another pause. She came to me. That should be enough for now. She left everything behind. No phone. No protection. She didn't even tell me where she was going. Of course she didn't. Because if she had, you would have tried to stop her. I swallowed hard. What do you want with her? I don't want anything. She came for answers. I'm giving them. Why now? Why this? Because lies rot. And Ava's been carrying rot for years. You think Cassandra was the worst of it? That little queen of curated trauma? No. I was the first ghost. The one she tried to bury the deepest. Her voice was calm, almost kind. I'm not here to hurt her. I'm here to finish the story she ran from. I need to see her. She needs to see herself first. She hung up. 3 days passed. I barely ate. Barely slept. Riley stopped by once, saw the mess of papers and wine bottles in silence, and didn't say a word. Just hugged me like she knew what it meant to be the one left waiting. On the 4th day, I woke to a single message on my phone. A pin location. No text. Nothing else. I grabbed my keys and went. It was a house. Small. Remote. Near the coast. Ava was on the porch, barefoot, wearing an oversized shirt and her sadness like armor. I got out of the car. She looked up. Her face cracked open the second she saw me. You came, she whispered. Of course I did. She didn't run to me. She didn't cry. She just stepped aside and let me in. The inside was dimly lit, full of old books, paintings, the scent of sea salt and cigarettes. Elodie stood by the window. Dark hair, green eyes, Timeless. The kind of woman who lives in poems and wreckage. She smiled, slow and deliberate. You made good time. This wasn't your choice, I said. You had no right. She asked me to help, Elodie said calmly. So I did. Ava sat on the couch, curled like she had in the worst of her breakdowns. I dropped to my knees in front of her. Tell me what happened. I had to know if she still had power over me, Ava said softly. And she doesn't, but I had to feel it, to look her in the eye and see who I used to be. I looked back at Elodie. And what are you to her now? A reminder, she said, of how far she's come, and of how much she had to lose to get here. Ava reached for my hand, gripped it tight. She forgave me. Elodie nodded once. We burned. But not everything that burns has to stay ashes. Then she walked into another room, left us in the stillness. Alone. Ava exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for years. I never told you the truth about Paris because I hated who I was then. I was angry, desperate. Elodie and we were beautiful in the most poisonous way. I used her to feel alive. She used me to feel adored. And when it crumbled, we both pretended it never happened. But it did. And I let the silence grow teeth. And now? I asked. Now I've told it. Faced it. All of it. And if you want to walk away, I understand. You think that's what I'm here for? I think I'm still scared I don't deserve you. I kissed her then, hard. We don't earn love by bleeding for it. We build it. We protect it. And I'm still here, Ava. Not because you're perfect, but because I've never wanted anything more. That night, we lay in bed in Elodie's house, the sea outside whispering through the open window. Ava curled against me. There's no one left, she murmured. No more ghosts. No more lies. Just you and me. I kissed her forehead. Then let's go home. And in the morning we did. Together. Coming back to Los Angeles felt different this time. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't triumphant. It felt clean, like shedding a skin. We drove back in silence for most of the trip, not out of tension but something else, something reverent. Ava held my hand over the console the whole way. Fingers tangled, anchored. No more running, no more hiding. Just her and me, breathing the same air. The city was still loud, still hungry, but it no longer felt like it had claws in her. And for the first time, Ava walked into her studio without flinching. You sure you're ready? Asked as she flicked on the lights. She didn't even hesitate. I've never been more sure of anything. And she meant it. The colors she chose that week were bold. Gold. Crimson. Midnight. No more muted grief. No more fragile sketches. She painted like someone who had survived herself. And I photographed her again, with a camera that had seen every version of us. This time, the lens trembled. Because I knew we were closing a chapter. We were nearing the end of the story that started in Vegas, in a room full of laughter and strangers and risk. And what remained was what we'd built in the ruins. Then the email came. From Ava's new publisher. The book was greenlit. Fully funded. Ashes and Light. A visual memoir by Ava Loran would be released in 6 months. And they wanted a press tour. Ava froze when she read the email. Do I have to? She whispered. You don't have to do anything, I said. But if you want to speak your story now, this is how the world will listen. She didn't answer right away. But 3 days later, she sent her first public statement in nearly 3 years. It was short, raw, honest. I was not silent because I had nothing to say. I was silent because I didn't think anyone would hear me. This book isn't a comeback. It's a reckoning, and a reminder that we get to rewrite the stories others tried to steal from us. The reaction was instant. Floods of messages. Support. Some hate, yes, but mostly understanding. And that was all she ever wanted. That night, I found her sitting in our bed, knees drawn to her chest, laptop open. She was scrolling, reading, crying, but not out of pain, out of release. They see me now, she whispered. The real me. I've always seen you. She closed the laptop, climbed into my arms. I want a future with you. You have one.
No, she said.
I mean, I want it to be real. Documented.
Claimed.
Not something that hides behind gallery walls and metaphors. I froze. What are you saying? I want to marry you. It didn't come with grand gestures. No ring. No rehearsed speeches. Just 5 words that cracked me wide open. Are you serious? I breathed. Yes, she said. I've never been more serious about anything. I didn't cry. Not then. I laughed. Then I kissed her until the world shrank to just her heartbeat and my trembling hands and the future we could finally claim. We told Riley first. She screamed, then cried, then made us promise she'd officiate the ceremony herself. None of that Pinterest crap, she warned. Just raw queer glory.
We laughed.
We planned.
Slowly.
Quietly. Ava didn't want spectacle. She wanted meaning. Somewhere close to the beginning, she said one night. Where it started. Vegas. I joked. She raised an eyebrow. Why not? And just like that, we were doing it. Eloping to the same city that started everything. No family. No press. Just the 2 of us, a rooftop and a little hotel with terrible wallpaper and a stunning view of the lights. We booked a date. A dress. A suit. Nothing fancy. Everything intimate. But 2 days before the trip, something arrived in the mail. No return address. Inside, a single Polaroid. Me and Ava. On the street outside the gallery show. Her hand in mine. Her head tilted back in laughter. The photo was real. Too real. Someone had taken it without our knowing. On the back, a message. Stories don't end. They circle. Ava read it once. Then again. Her jaw tightened. Is it Elodie? I asked. She wouldn't. She let go. Then who? I don't know, she said. But I don't care. What do you mean? She took a lighter from the drawer, walked to the balcony, set the Polaroid on fire. We watched it curl and blacken and turn to ash on the breeze. They don't get to follow us into our forever. I watched her face in the light. She was calm, unshaken. You're really ready, I said. I am. She turned to me, eyes clear. Are you? I stepped forward, held her waist. I've been ready since I lost that bet in Vegas. We kissed under the glow of the city, and for the first time since that night, I felt like we weren't surviving the past. We were choosing the future. Vegas didn't feel like a full circle. It felt like a rebirth, like the place we came to shed the last layers of the people we used to be. The city was still loud, still pulsing, still glittering with cheap promises and neon lies, but this time, we weren't there to run. We were there to begin. Ava held my hand as we walked through the Bellagio's main entrance again, her grip firm, steady. You ready to seal your fate? She asked with that familiar glint. I smirked. I sealed it the second I said yes. We checked into a boutique hotel with a rooftop view of the Strip and a minibar stocked with overpriced champagne we wouldn't touch. It wasn't about glamour anymore. We didn't need the high. We had each other. That night, we didn't rehearse vows. We didn't plan. We just lay in bed with the city glowing beneath us and wrote the words that came to mind, hers messy and sharp, mine quiet and full. We held them like secrets in our palms until morning. The rooftop was bare except for a few candles Riley insisted on bringing and the cheap folding chair she sat in like a throne, grinning in sequined boots and sunglasses even though the sun was going down. Ava wore a slip dress that shimmered like moonlight. I wore black, no tie, hair loose. There were no flowers, no guests, no music, just wind and laughter, and the sound of Ava breathing beside me. Riley cleared her throat. All right, you absolute disasters. Somehow, against every odd, you made it. You fell in love, set the world on fire, and decided to do it again. And today, in front of me and no one else, because that's very gay of you, you're promising to keep doing it. Again and again. Ava laughed. I tried not to cry. Then we read our vows. Hers. You were the first quiet I didn't want to run from. The first truth that didn't hurt. I will love you when you're strong, when you're lost, when you're loud, and when you go still. I won't save you because you don't need saving.
But I'll always stay.
Always. Mine. You taught me that love isn't clean, that it's layered and flawed and breathtaking anyway. I'll choose you when it's easy. I'll choose you when it's impossible. And every time I see your face in the morning light, I'll remember that some bets are worth losing if they lead me to you. We kissed before Riley could finish the ceremony. She laughed, wiped her eyes, and said, "Now go sin like married women." That night, we walked the strip hand in hand, rings on our fingers, wind in our hair, strangers cheering as we passed. No one knew who we were. They didn't have to. We were legends to each other. Back in the hotel, Ava kissed me slow, deliberate, like a memory she wanted to write into my skin. We didn't rush. We didn't need to. Every touch was a promise. Every sigh was home. She whispered mine into my collarbone. I whispered, always into her mouth. We fell asleep wrapped in everything we'd survived. The next morning, we found a small package at our door. No name, no note, just a poker chip from the Bellagio and a simple card. For the girl who lost a bet, and the woman who won her. Some stories deserve a second round. Ava held it in silence for a long time. Then she smiled. I'm keeping this. You think it's from the dealer? Maybe. Or someone who knows what this meant. She slipped the chip into her wallet like a lucky charm. Months passed. The book launched, Ashes and Light, and it was everything we hoped. People read it,
Cried.
wrote us letters, told us it made them believe in survival, in redemption, in love. We traveled, did interviews, but we always came back to our small house, our messy studio, our shared rituals, morning coffee, late-night painting, photos taped to the fridge. Then one day, an envelope arrived with no return address. Inside, a charcoal drawing. 2 women. One in a dress, one in a suit. Hands locked. The Vegas skyline behind them. At their feet, a single poker chip. In the corner, a red signature. Lucia. We framed it. Hung it in the studio. Ava didn't say much. Just stared at it for a long time before whispering, "It's over. For real this time." Every year after that, we returned to Vegas. Same rooftop. Same day. Same chip between us. Not as a symbol of risk, but as proof that a kiss lost in a game could change everything. That trauma doesn't end you. It reveals what you'll rise from. That love, the real kind, doesn't rescue you. It joins you in the ruins. It says, I see you. I want you anyway. And that's what we were. Not a perfect story, but a true one. The kind worth betting everything on. If you enjoyed this content and want to support the channel in a special way, try clicking the thanks button below. It's the one with the heart and $sign icon. With super thanks, you can make a direct contribution to the channel, which helps me keep creating awesome videos for you.